Hi, everybody. This is Adorable Andrew, and today is July 11th, 2009. The weather is quite nice out today, at least where I am, up here in Canada. And although I am a fan of warm weather, there seems to be a fair bit of wind, and I'm not a fan of the wind. But since it's pretty cold most of the year, I'm not going to complain. I will take what I can get. By the way, if I sound tired, that's because I am. Last night I played a show. I play about 3 to 5 shows a month, but last night I played 3 sets of 45 minutes. So three 45-minute sets, which comes out to about 40 songs. And not too many people know this. Maybe it's not common knowledge, but playing 40 songs can and will tire you out. I was rather bagged when I got home last night, and I'm feeling rather tired today, so I decided to take the day off and just relax and recharge the battery. Now, as far as games go, I've been playing a fair bit of Final Fantasy XII just in my spare time. I've been playing a bit of Superfire Pro Wrestling too, but really, Final Fantasy XII is the only thing that I've been playing all that much. Now, if you have the choice between buying it or not buying it, I say don't buy it. I mean, this game is too addicting. It's fun, but it's more addicting. I think I've said this in the past. You can't really equate being fun with being addicting, or being addicting with being fun. I'm simply amazed at the size of this game. I'm not sure that you could compare it to like Morrowind or Oblivion or anything like that, but it's still huge. I mean, there's a lot of area to explore. I'm probably somewhere in the range of 70 hours into the game, and I have yet to beat it. I'm probably in the last 30% or so of the game, but I have yet to beat it. I could be wrong, but from what I remember, Final Fantasy X is only about 60% of the size of Final Fantasy 12. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of a ballpark figure, but maybe that gives you some idea of the sheer scale of this game. One thing I really like about it is the side quests and the mark hunts. I like how you can do mark hunts right off the bat. Even though there are some obviously that you wouldn't be able to defeat right away, not to mention they wouldn't be posted for, they wouldn't be available to you right away. It's still awesome that you can do that right off the bat. As for the combat, I know a lot of people that don't really like it. They're not really into the combat system of this game, but I happen to like it a lot. I like all the automation. They call it gambits in this game, and that's basically where you can set up an action where, for example, if your ally or someone in your party has HP less than, has less than half their HP, like 50%, you can set up a gambit to cast Cure or Curaga or whatever you want. You could even get somebody to use a high potion. And I mean, there are no random encounters in this game, right? Every monster is right there on the map for you to see. Like there's a little small map in the upper right hand corner with little red dots on it, and those dots indicate enemies that you can encounter on the map. And okay, sometimes they do appear randomly. There are some. To be fair, there are some monsters that kind of seem to appear out of nowhere, out of the ground. But basically, there are no random encounters, and you can choose to fight them or not to fight them. And sometimes you're kind of forced to fight them. But I still like the combat system a lot, and the automation of it, and how it doesn't go to another screen. It's not a random encounter. It doesn't just jump to another screen where you have to battle the foes before you can proceed with the game. So that's kind of nice. I used to play a bit of FF11, Final Fantasy 11, and that's more of a MMORPG than it is a console game. But I have to say that I much prefer Final Fantasy 12. I think it's faster paced, and Final Fantasy 11, yeah, it's nice in the sense that you can interact with other people around the world and play with them, but I just found it a nuisance to try to build a party every time you log in, and I'm really not one to sit there and play for 5, 6 hours. Maybe I could find the time to play an hour or so in an evening, but I'm not gonna sit there and play 5 hours. So, when you want to do something quick and make some progress, it's not really conducive. MMORPGs are not conducive to my lifestyle. Another thing I'll say about it is the licensing system, which I think is a pretty cool idea. How you have to obtain licenses for every piece of armor or weaponry that you want to equip. You have to get a license for it. It's kind of reminiscent of the Sphere Grid in a sense. It's not a huge departure from that, but it still stands out as its own system, and I like it, and how you have to get licenses for accessories that you want to equip, and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. My first impression of this game was basically that it was like a mix of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and that's kind of changed. I mean, at the point I'm at now, yeah, it feels a lot more like Final Fantasy. But when you first start the game, it's like, what is this, you know? But yeah, no, it's definitely starting to feel a lot more like a Final Fantasy game, which is good or bad depending on who you ask. But I think I'm enjoying it the most of any Final Fantasy I've played recently. I did like Final Fantasy X. I have yet to play all the way through 10-2 or X2 or whatever you want to call it. Played a little bit of 11, and I went back and played the Origins probably a couple of years ago, and that was pretty fun too. Like 1 and 2, they were not bad games. They were not great games. If I were to pick between those two, I'd definitely go with 2. But of the ones I've played recently, yeah, Final Fantasy 12, hands down, it is the best game. I like how each area, you know, has its own music. That is pretty sweet. That is cool. And it doesn't just have like a generic combat music every time you enter combat, which is, vastly different than previous games in the series. And again, it's good or bad depending on how you look at it. But I still like that all areas have different music, and some are eerie and creepy, and some are upbeat, and some are kind of hopeful sounding, and that's pretty cool. That said, I don't know that any tracks have really stood out more than others. It would be, there are some songs, some themes that I have enjoyed a lot, but then a lot of the time, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of background music. You know what I mean? One more thing I'd like to say about Final Fantasy XII is the storyline. And I'm not gonna say that it's a bad storyline, but it just seems to me like there's usually a little bit of grinding. Well, I'm not gonna say a little, a lot of grinding in between cutscenes and story. It really doesn't seem to move along that fast, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of character development. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I find myself spending anywhere from 3 to 10 hours just leveling up or selling loot so I can get the latest gear, the best gear, and it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it just gets to be hard to piece it all together when there's that much time in between any given cutscene and any semblance of storyline. Maybe you don't need to spend as much time as I do, you know, upgrading your gear and all that kind of thing. But hey, that's what I do. So that's about it for Final Fantasy 12. I'm thinking about the next review that I want to do for. I'm thinking some kind of Super Famicom or SNES game. Recently I did Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2, and if you haven't seen that yet, please take a look and let me know what you think. But I'm thinking of doing another review, preferably something that I've played through already or finished. Otherwise, it's going to take me a long time to do it, and yeah, I just want to do something quick. But I can't really see myself doing a Link to the Past or anything like that. Anyway, that's about it for today. So I'll see you next time.